houses.
When did you get married to your present wife, and do you still live in that little house by the graveyard?
One of my best experiences that I had through the Knights of White Guardian was going to my first for real Doctor Who convention, which was called Time Lord 89. It was held in Columbus, Ohio. Not the BBC props department there, with their mock-up TARDIS, console, police box, K9, Dalek, the whole works. For guests, they had Anthony Ainley, Terry Nation, and
collect merchandise, meet the celebrities, meet friends you don't see too often, just have some good laughs, you know, pretty much just have a good time with people who like science fiction, you know, same interest that you have.
Science fiction cons, my goal one is I am there to see the guests and to get the autographs.
The first time we went on the road to a Doctor Who event, a large group of us, as I recall, was a November Thanksgiving Creation Convention in 1989. We went down to New York City.
I mostly enjoy standing in line, being treated like cattle. It's one of my, one of the funner things. Paying too much for stuff too. That's always a blast.
What famous people have you met?
Well, most of the cast of the various Star Trek shows, a number of Doctor Who people. At the Visions, a lot of the British people, Blake Seven, Robin of Sherwood, Red Dwarf. And it's pretty much all covering the bases. And Star Wars cons lately.
Dave Prowse, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, Blake Seven people like Paul Darrow, Gareth Thomas.
of course a whole slew of Star Trek people. Like the one that really comes to mind is John Delancey, and the command that the respect that he commands when he is on stage and the Star Trek fans actually give it to him. It's like, oh, we need more people like that.
I suppose what I like best about the conventions is seeing and interacting with the famous people. I've overcome the draw of the dealer's room for the most part. Favorite people I've seen, I'd have to say Jerry Doyle ranks up there.
Everybody thinks stars are higher up, but they're not. They're just normal people like we are. And they do strange and unusual things like we do. And when I meet Mr. Roddenberry's wife, she's nice too. I enjoyed that a lot.
And I enjoy any of like the panels where the guests actually sit down and get closer to the fans. I mean, listening to them up on stage talking is fine and fun and all, and you can learn a lot of things. But when you actually get them in a little bit more of what would be considered an intimate setting, you get to know them more as a person than just as these are these are their likes and dislikes.
It's very nice meeting Patrick Troughton. He was in one of the longest autograph lines I'd ever seen, and it was a late night convention, and he just continued to sign, and there's people after me even though I was one of the last people in line, and he still was very friendly, and I really feel privileged to have met him.
I meet a lot of people, and I've seen strange and unusual things, but I'm getting used to them. I was asked to join the Klingon Alliance. I had my pictures taken with a couple of them, and they stuck their gawk in my mouth, which was gummy worms, which was good. So I had a lot of strange things and fun things that happened, and I won't miss one. I won't.
And no one ever sort of gets to sleep because everyone's really hyped up the day's convention. Those have always been exciting. Always like the excitement of meeting new people, you know, people coming, people going.
Whenever I go to science fiction conventions, I'm usually the first one to the gaming room, the gaming table. That's where you'll find me when people have to, go for lunch or when people are getting ready to leave at the end of the day. Then after that, I'll usually go to the dealer's room.
Walking around the dealer's room, considering because of working in them, I know a lot of the dealers.
I'm not as much into it anymore because I'm filled up 2 rooms with it, but I do like picking up merchandise, books, models, hats. Also, I have to update my Star Trek uniform, so every time there's a uniform change, I gotta go out and buy a bloody new uniform.
Just meeting the actors and actresses and other people that are interested in the same thing, because there isn't doesn't seem to be a lot of people interested in Doctor Who out there nowadays, except when you go to a convention.
It's fun to get away from the work environment where you're looked at by most mundanes as having 3 heads when you talk about a show that's been on for 30 years, to go to an event where everyone knows where you're coming from.
The best things about going to conventions, and people will be surprised that I say this, it's not the dealer's room and not meeting the guests and not getting autographs, but hanging out with people that I know.
What is it that draws you to Visions each time?
A variety of the British guests. You don't get those in too many conventions on the East Coast.
It's usually been the Blake and Robin Hood guests.
The dealer's room is absolutely fantastic. They have auctions, costume contests.
Meeting all the Doctor Who people that were at the convention. We only had a 2-day pass, so we didn't even have time to sit in on any panels. We just spent both days running from autograph signings to pictures and other autograph signings.
Getting hugged by Gareth Thomas for his photo session. Tarot card workshop I went to with Mark Ryan at the last convention.
I also remember having a luncheon with several of the guests, including Deborah Watling, John Levine, and David Banks, and that was interesting.
I'd say the most memorable thing was when we met up with John Levine. I think it was outside an elevator, and he stopped and talked with us like it was no big deal to him. He stopped and talked to everybody at the convention.
The whole con itself, I mean, nothing special, just the whole, you know, since it is an expensive trip, it is, you know, money-wise, time-wise, it's good, you know, I enjoyed it every year.
I think one of the high points of the club for many years was our trip to Toronto in 1992.
Almost like a high water post. It was far enough to make a nice weekend of it, but not too far to tire everybody out. It was a good time.
Oh, our trip to Canada, Toronto. I had a great time. I didn't see too much of the convention that was there, but I had a great time touring Toronto.
Canada itself, first of all, it was my first time out of a foreign country, and Phil was convinced I wasn't going to get back into the United States.
But my very first convention that I went to was in Toronto. And I've never been to Toronto. And to go there and see the stars was really good. And then
to meet the guests up close and personal. And after the convention wound down, we lended a hand in helping the people, the folks at Dwin, put away the chairs, put away some of the beautiful props.
The best part about the Toronto convention was the mock-up of the TARDIS console done by Martin Hunger and Chrissy Carr from the Doctor Who Information Network, their chapter being the Not the BBC Props Department. This one actually had, there was an actual materialization sequence. You couldn't get the Time Rotor to move until you pushed a button and flicked a switch in the right order. If any of them were wrong, it just wouldn't work.
Did they have something else that was related to the TARDIS there?
Related to the TARDIS. You're right, they did. They had their police box.